let's talk about SEO priorities. We laid this out in a way that makes sense to us, makes sense to our clients. Um, we figure give you guys some structure to think about how to plan your SEO priorities just the same way we do, and it'll be helpful. Before we dive in, very quick introduction of Exclusive. We've been around for 26 years. We focus on cross-channel marketing. SEO is a big part of that because it was our first service we ever had, and we've kind of expanded over time naturally from doing SEO projects. Here's a handful of our clients just to get a sense of who trusts us. I joined the company in 2008. I'm the host of our webinar series, but my main goal here was to shift us from projects to retainer solutions. I developed our technologies and our services in the vein of SEO, Google Ads, conversion, email, Amazon, and built out our strategy team as well. I started with SEO first because I was the SEO manager for the world's largest poker site. It's just something that has always been my passion. And these days I focus on building out our strategic framework, which we'll talk about today, and working with net new business that wants to get some better support. So if any of you say, hey, let's talk, chances are I'll be the one you talk to.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. I'm Rebecca Antonellis. I am the VP of SEO and owned media here at Exclusive. So I oversee our SEO, conversion testing, email, SMS, and content departments. So we're really responsible for driving program and service innovation, client satisfaction, all of that. And I support Nick on these webinars, giving him some content and some insights into things that we're working on with our current clients, keeping everyone fresh on the news. So looking forward to going through some of the stuff. There's some really cool case studies in here that I'm looking forward to sharing with you all. And like Nick said, some insight into our framework. So Nick, I'll hand it over to you to get us rolling.
Thank you. And guys, really quick, if everyone can go to the questions, or anyone who wants to go to the questions box, can you just quickly give me your thoughts on the audio quality? Trying a whole new headset today after getting some feedback on the last webinar that it's time to switch things up. So yeah, if there's any feedback, just let me know, like literal or not literal. Okay, 7 out of 10 for me, 10 out of 10 for Rebecca. That's really helpful. Part of it is I have a paralyzed vocal cord, so my voice itself is a little Godfather-ish. But if it sounds like it's the microphone, please do let me know. Okay, quick do's and don'ts first. We just wanted to say before we get into lots of examples and use cases of different types of content, first we want to just lay out what applies to all content, pretty much no matter what. And unfortunately, it's a lot. It's a good truism to just believe that 99% of content that you create is going to be penalized for some reason. And the more you understand the penalties, the more likely it is that you'll get in that nice 1% that gets all the glory and all the rankings. So we're going to split this up. When I was managing the SEO team, dealt with a lot of challenges from 2007 to 2012. I'm going to cover those and then switch to Rebecca to cover the things that have been under her purview. So first in 2007, we did notice that Google stopped doing the Google Dance, which they indexed once a month. They started to index in real time. And it means they're duplicating the internet into this beautiful index. And as they started to do that, Carrie Grimes, who runs the indexation team, she realized that there's a lot of duplicate content out there. And when people do searches of the index, if 20 copies exist of the same content and they're all relevant to the same keyword, what happens when like the first 20 results are all the same? It's not a great user experience. So she basically just created a rule that said one of those 20 duplicates gets to go into a primary index. Everything else goes in the supplemental, which is only going to get accessed very deep in the rankings. So for the first time, we started to see this reality where if your content is duplicated internally or externally, you're now running the odds of not getting into the rankings. So that's part of why your rankings may not exist. In 2011, February 22nd, 2011, a guy named Navneet Banda um, started to address an issue that was created from the duplicate content issue. So people realized in 2008 duplicate content's bad, so they said, let's create unique content. And then all these companies from overseas said, oh, we'll build content for you, $1 per page, super easy. It was barely English, right? So Navneet Banda said, let's grade these papers, this content, like an English professor. It has to be deep, it has to be comprehensive, grammatically perfect. Just take simple rules that all professors use for English grading and just add it in. And it worked. It worked really well. Um, so that's Panda. It kind of grades whether your content is deep and comprehensive and grammatically perfect versus shallow and prose like. So after that, in 2012, the guy who wrote all of Google's algorithm, Larry Page, who wrote the page rank named after himself, came back as CEO in April 2011. By April 2012, 12 months later, he said, I want to do a huge penalty for everyone who's been gaming my system. So any over optimization, stuffing keywords in a single sentence, things like that, penalty. That's Penguin. And it continues to be a big penalty.
Yeah, and so then roll forward to 2019. There's definitely things that happened between 2012 and 2019, but for the purpose of this webinar, we wanted to make sure we mentioned BERT, not an actual algorithm update, but more of a technology enhancement that Google made, really focused around natural language processing, long tail keywords. And so this really helps Google understand things like intent. It helps them capture more in-depth and long-tail queries within large swaths of content, so that they can better understand the full context of a page and not just individual sections, and not relying so heavily on exact match keywords. Then more recently, last year, a couple big things. One, Google made some updates to their quality rater guidelines. Not uncommon, again, it's something that they do fairly regularly, but what was notable about this update is that you guys may have heard of EAT, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness, but they added a new E to the front of that, which was experience. So really what they're saying is that they want people to have experience with a product or a service when they're writing about it, not just talking about the, you know, expertise level. Like you could be an expert in something, but I could maybe be an expert in heart surgery, but never have performed heart surgery if I wanted to study enough. So like that's kind of the difference between the two E's. But within that call out, they also specifically made a point to say that trustworthiness is the highest and most important aspect of that EEAT. And so trustworthiness for e-commerce sites especially comes in the form of obviously a secure site, you know, messaging around customer service and returns and making people feel comfortable, you know, having secure processing, all of that is what Google is looking for within those. So keeping that in mind when we talk about content and things to think about in 2023. And then lastly, the helpful content update that rolled out in 2022. If you listen to what Nick said about Panda, and you know anything about the helpful content update, you're like, oh, it kind of sounds like Panda. And it really is. I think that the helpful content kind of takes BERT, it takes Panda, and it is what Google had been trying to do for many years, and just really is looking to match the intent of a user with their search query. So things to keep in mind.
Awesome. And we'll get into a lot of the details of like how do you show that the experience is good? Like what technical things are being looked at from that perspective, or to show expertise, how authorship markup is going to help you. But from just a writing content perspective, sorry folks, I'm really trying with this audio. Um, Here's things that you just need to get right for every page. If we say every page, I mean homepage, category pages, blog. product page. You need to write unique content that is optimized for the topical keywords. You need different content lengths. You need to understand what the pockets are. So for a category page, somewhere in the vicinity of 250 to 400 words is still a really good pocket. When you're talking about product pages, somewhere around 100 words is still a good pocket. And for blog articles, it can be anything from 400 keywords to more naturally 800 to 1,000 to longer if you happen to be covering a topic that requires more depth. You do need to manage your crawl space. So this is where the content is located in the page to make sure that content is more accessible within the total code. You don't want to rely on manufacturer's content, which is naturally duplicate, but also is not the same thing as showing that you have your own experience. And of course, you do not want to over optimize for search engines because if you try too hard, Penguin will cut you down. But trying to help us accomplish this is the advent of many new AI technologies. So what are we thinking on that side, Rebecca?
Yeah, so couldn't have this webinar without mentioning AI. I'm sure many of you have heard the news. It's changing every day. So we wanted to give a few thoughts on our end, what AI might mean for SEO and for the work that you're doing on your websites. So things that we're thinking about, when we think about authoritativeness and expertise, we may see that authorship markup might become more important. Google may put a little bit more weight in seeing that a single author has contributed to a single or to multiple sources, and tying all that back to ensure that it's like a real person, that someone with real experience is writing. Showing that expertise and experience, like we talked about, again, making sure that if you are doing a review of a product that you have the photos and things like that, as one example for maybe a content-based site. And then making sure that you have like that authentic content and consistency in your brand tone. That's something that you can't get out of any of these AI machines, at least not yet. So definitely having that human touch and making sure that it's aligned and consistent across your site is going to be really important as you're using these tools. And then in terms of the tool usage, how you can optimize with AI for some of your performance. So consider the different technology options. There's a whole bunch out there. Jasper's a common one, Copysmith, even the Open AI, if you want to play around with that one. It's a free, good playground to check out. So consider those. Certain ones have different like templates that you can use, and really you have to figure out what works best for your workflow. Continue to keep in mind the page length. So Nick mentioned, kind of general ranges that we like to see for different page types. Don't go out of bounds with those, even though you can a little bit easier now, or if you do, test them. Make sure that you're mentioning, specific keywords, but that you're not over optimizing through the AI content, and being aware of the keyword density, how frequently the tool is putting those keywords in place. And as you're adding ideas to any sort of content that you're building out with tools, feed them the keywords, but also give them general broad concepts. See what they come up with, because they may pull in additional terms that maybe you weren't thinking about. And know that you can also give them specific tone. So we talked about authenticity through brand, and again, it's not something that AI can replicate. So, but you can kind of get them started on the right way, whether you want to speak in a humorous tone or something more casual or something more professional. So it can be a great way to speed up your process and kind of get the content started, but just knowing that you're going to need a human to take it across the finish line.
Yeah, but there's definitely, it's a big point that these are all the things that we're also thinking about, like testing with our clients, because we want to know which technology is going to work the best, what page lengths are going to now be more in Google's pocket, because there's going to be a response by Google and Bing to what is the right type of response to AI in general. Same thing happened when caffeine came out. Again, there were these like low cost labor pages, but there were also tools called spinners. Back then, they used to take a piece of content, restructure the sentence, swap out synonyms, and it was like the first form of AI. and Google created Panda as a response to that. So there's going to be a response. Um, Question for the the team out here: have you tested AI at all on your website? Yes, it was good so far. Yes, but not good results. No, I plan to. No, not really interested anytime soon. It's a great chance to hear from your peers. Okay, we're gonna close this out in three, two, one. Get your votes in. All right. Uh, First of all, let's look at the yeses here. This is pretty exciting. So, of those of you who did use AI, um, there's a 1 in 14 shot that it turns out bad, and a 13 out of 14 shot that it turns out good. So, for the remaining 86% of you, you got to think about whether it's worth trying something. Again, there's so much to contemplate and track and test, but it does look like the majority are planning to that are left that have not tried it yet. Um, Happy to be the agency that helps you do it in a way that is thoughtful and where we apply our own discernment to make sure things are done right. All right, so we're going to structure the rest of the webinar in a format that makes sense to us, which is under our exclusive framework. Our exclusive framework is called the virtuous activity cycle. Um, so what is a virtuous activity cycle? It's basically how we want our clients to think about their investments in marketing. So don't think about your investments in marketing in terms of like channels. Uh, Instead, know that marketing is supposed to further certain things in your brand. It's supposed to build awareness with cold customers. It's supposed to help you get in front of non-branded search. That's consideration. It's supposed to take people from your first visit to conversion. That's an investment in conversion. It's supposed to get past customers to buy again. So there's an investment there in loyalty. It's supposed to even ask past customers to review and like and share. That's advocacy. And if you can set investments aside for each of these five things and monitor the return, now you're doing marketing in a cross-channel, channel agnostic way, and you're getting things done. And it is virtuously supporting each other in a flywheel. So it kind of looks like the same things you hear when you're talking about a funnel, which is great because you can think about it from that perspective as well. But we're thinking more about investment areas and return. So we apply this to every ad spend channel, email, owned media. We do the same for SEO. And SEO, we want to think about what SEO investments further awareness with cold audiences, what kind of SEO activities should be done specifically for people who are in search in my market right now, so we can get in front of them, show them resources, comparisons, category options, and then for conversion, when people are already kind of ready to buy, but they're just trying to figure out who I'm going to buy from, that's the conversion side. So how do we get in front of those people? So we start off with awareness here, and awareness is people who are in that phase of I've got a problem. What should I do about it? Generally speaking, I kind of I'm searching, but I haven't really started searching for a category of products or solutions yet. This is where just educating people early on, trying to get in front of them because of their lifestyle and where you might see a cross section. So blog pages are a big part of this cold targeting, even before they're ready to think about buying from your category. So for for starters, when you do have blog pages, articles that of course could be written now by AI, not always the from a perspective of experience or expertise, but this is where Google is going to first check your technical markup Tell us about this piece of content that we're about to study. Who wrote it? That's authorship markup. Ideally, with a markup going to a author page. Sourcing your research, okay? Is an AI going to tell us where they got all these ideas? No. Tell us where you did your research. Tell us why this is comprehensive, it's thoughtful, and you are the expert on this. When you write the content, you have your H1 tag, but then subsections will have H2s, and you can even have an appendix at the top that jumps to. Your H2s and your jump twos are going to be used by um, the people also ask module in Google. And people also ask is the cornerstone of voice search. So you're kind of getting into these futuristic opportunities to get visibility where those modules get more presence. They take away from the old rankings. And if you are going to update old blog content to surface it, like um, Halloween costumes 2018, and you take that blog article and you update it every single year, make sure you have a timestamp of the origin and every update since. That's how you get the stability of history, but also the freshness.
Yeah, so I think one question that we hear a lot when we're talking about awareness and driving awareness to a site and the blog post is, well, how long should my blog post be? So I wanted to share a case study that we did with a client who sells furniture. Um, we analyzed over 1,700 blog posts that they had written over 6 years and put each of the word count lengths into buckets. And what we found is that in general, posts that had around 1,000 words saw 2 times the number of page one ranking keywords than posts at other lengths. So there was a clear correlation between um, the the number of keywords and the number of rankings on page one. What's interesting is that it wasn't necessarily like kind of growing up over time. So like the 850 length didn't have more than the 500 length. What we actually saw was like this U-shaped result where those long 1,000 word posts had 2 times the number of rankings on page one, but then the second most rankings on page one were the less than 250 word posts. So they were those super short, quick answers. And we actually saw that those types of results had higher instances of clicks and impressions as well. So really what that tells us is that, if you want to go for page one ranking growth, go for the longer content, use all those things that Nick talked about from the technical standpoint, but then you should also be balancing those with maybe some of those quicker answers. They're lower competition. You can get the featured snippet a little bit more easily. You're getting those impressions, again, increasing the awareness of the brand, hopefully having people click through. And then once they're on your blog, then that's when you need to work through either getting them to a product page, collecting their email, some sort of next conversion action to move them through the funnel. So another thing to think about when we're talking about awareness is it's not just your site's blog, right? If you've ever done a search for a very broad term, let's say best mascara, you know that you're going to get these list-based articles, these listicles that are coming up. So for your brand's awareness, you need to have presence within. You can almost think of those list articles as like mini search result pages. When people click on that top ranking, which has a list of the top 10, you want to be at least listed or mentioned within that top 10. So you want to find the publications and the posts that are coming up most frequently for your top terms. You want to identify the brands that have presence there, and if that article and post is linking to them, so you're getting that authority and recognition right through to your site. And then you want to, do whatever you need to do from an outreach standpoint to get your product listed amongst those other brands. So whether it's doing that outreach or doing some affiliate partnerships, we see a lot of times these listicles are more affiliate based. Thinking about that. So that kind of like thought process is really going to be important for brand awareness and building out that for your site.
Yeah, I love the fact that we don't assume that those things can't be changed, right? Like try it, and sometimes it works out really well, and you find out that everyone's open to it because they're all affiliates anyways. It's wonderful. Um, because I think second thing that we wanted to talk about was consideration, right? So consideration, just to make this very clear, this is when um, someone knows the category that they want to buy from. They haven't chosen the product, they haven't chosen the brand that they want to buy from yet, but they surely know the category that they want to start researching more of, and they have an intent to buy, high intent to buy. So we're thinking more of like, show me your collection of products in this category, so category pages, or help me understand how to navigate the qualifiers, so things like resource pages.
Cool. So we're thinking about category pages. A question that comes up a lot is where should I, there it goes, where should I place the content on my page, right? What's best for user experience? What's best for SEO? So we ran a test with our partner Split Signal on a website where they already had content above the fold, above their products on all of their category pages, but they wanted to remove that, put them all below the products because obviously from a user experience standpoint, they wanted to have the products as high up the page as possible. So we did a test where we moved that top section below the products where the rest of their content was, and saw that for those pages where content was only below the fold, only below products, there was almost a 5% drop in organic traffic. So what that told us is that there's value in content above your products, above the fold. It doesn't have to be long. These were really only like 2 or 3 sentences, but Google did put more weight on that content. So we made sure that each page had that content in place above products. I know, Nick, you mentioned there's been similar observations since the quality update in May 2015. And I think it's just important to note too, this was an apparel site. It could be different based on industry, products, competitors. So it is definitely something you want to test with your own site, but an interesting observation in terms of the weight that we were seeing for that content above the fold.
Yeah, and so when you're thinking about a category page, you obviously want to trust your e-commerce platform that you're on, that things are probably set up for the best SEO, but not always the case. So um, Google does want to verify that a category page is a category page, and ideally, don't think of it as a category page anymore. Think of it as a product selection page. Historically, there used to be concepts called category pages where you'd have a block of content and it would just point to more subcategories with no products on it. There's no great home for that anymore in Google's search results. Category pages should have an experience where you show products. So Google will look to make sure you have filters present or faceted search. They're going to look for like a product counter showing products 1 through 25 of 25. They're going to check schema and make sure that there's a breadcrumb structure. In some cases, if you have not too many products, you can even start to show some details on the products, but that doesn't always work. Some other things on the consideration side, we're really happy to cut a lot of time out of the process to optimize a category page. When clients come on board, they typically have a certain number of hours of work that we'll do for them, and they think, okay, we have 27 hours per month to work together. What exactly can you do in 27 hours? Say, well, a normal SEO team, when they're optimizing content, they'd want to first research what keywords do I already rank for, take those keywords, seed them through competitor websites to figure out what do my competitors rank for, synthesize that together, organize which keywords go in the title, the H, and the body. And that might take them a half an hour, 45 minutes. But Rebecca and her team have put together a technology that does this in 0 time. we're able to check SEMrush rankings, consolidate that, seek keywords through competitors, bring that in, organize that through title, H, and body. So we charge you for none of that because we get that done in zero time. So nice to see that that can be done. Plus, it is so annoying when you de-optimize a page because you didn't check your rankings before you optimized. Um, Last thing I'll mention on the consideration side is um, we don't want your consideration pages to get out of hand. Um, Historically, before Panda, ShoeBuy.com was known for having this ridiculously long faceted search where they had a page for Nike by gender, by size, by color, by running versus whatever. And so Nike itself might have like 200,000 different pages. Panda wants us to consolidate around pages that are meaningful, that have unique content. So bring your content together, declare static pages versus dynamic. Make sure if you have 200 pages worth of pagination, they all canonical back to the root that has all the crawl authority. And just um, make sure you are constantly checking that your category pages are the right structure, where you have some pages with 200 products and some with one or zero, that you're deleting ones that shouldn't be on there at all.
Cool. So another thing we think about with consideration, obviously people aren't sure necessarily the exact product they want to buy. So this is your chance as the site owner to help them along that journey. Types of content we love for this, how-to guides. It could be a how to, choose between two products, or it could simply be a how to use a single product that they might be considering, so they can understand how it works and determine if it fits their needs. Buyer's guides, obviously similar to the how to use, but more of like how to make that decision. And then we love comparison charts as well. How does your product compare to XYZ in the markup? Make a beautiful little graphic, some charts, add some content to that page, and it can really help people with their consideration of the specific product that they're looking to purchase. With any of these, especially for how to, make sure you have structured data markup. Google has specific how to structured data markup that you can add to those pages and appear for more rich results in the search.
Awesome. So the last section that we're going to cover here is conversion. This is when people have a pretty good sense of the product they want to buy. They want to buy from your brand, so they're going to search for your brand. They might be searching for coupons at the last minute. And the first thing we're going to cover here is product structure data, which is essentially the Google organic team's opportunity to recreate Google Shopping, but in the organic results. So it kicks off there.
Cool. So the product structure data update, this happened in September of last year. And you may have noticed some new reports that got pulled into your Search Console account. You may have started to notice more instances of popular products or top products or featured snippets on the side of the search page. This not only gets more views and more opportunity for your product to be visible in the SERP, but it's also just new opportunities for optimization and more coverage, and again, more eyeballs for people who are looking to purchase specific items and help with that conversion aspect. So one thing we noticed, and we have this chart from our partner at Grow by Data, we saw back in early July that we started to see more frequency of those popular products results in SERPs, and actually those were out ranking or out appearing, regular shopping results. People also ask, and they actually started to show up more frequently than even just traditional organic listings. So this just shows the importance of having the right structured data markup. We're continuing to see this today, where we're actually seeing even more sections of popular products and suggested items for even more of the general shopping terms and not necessarily for particular items. And if you're not sure what these look like or what they might show up as in rich results, so this is an example of a product snippet. These have been around for a while, so this really wasn't anything new with how Google was reading the structured data. you just want to make sure that you have validating structured data for your products that includes the name, price, availability. Ideally, it'll have reviews and rankings, and then you can get these beautiful kind of rich results to help encourage people to click through to your product and not anyone else's. So that's what an example of the product snippet. The second thing you might see is the merchant listing experiences. So this was what was a little bit newer. They had kind of been showing up in the search result pages, but no one was really sure like what you needed in order to be visible in these results. But now we know. We know that you need to have proper brand markup, price, a lot of overlap between what you need for merchant listing and what you need for product snippets, but image and brand are two required that are needed for merchant listing experiences. But these are going to be your popular products results, your shopping knowledge panels, and your Google images, which we have examples of in the next slide. So again, product snippets, these should look pretty familiar. Everyone sees them around. You got your star rating, you have your review count, price, delivery, stock availability, all of that gets pulled through. So making sure that you don't have any errors for that rich result markup is going to enable you to be eligible for these result types. And then for popular products, here's an example in the wild, looking for a very general red baking dish. And here's your popular red baking dishes where it lists a whole bunch of different categories. It's interesting because color is a new attribute that you can add to your structured data markup. And so we believe that adding color, in addition to the required properties of brand, image, reviews, will help with more color-based search. And then the shopping knowledge panel, if you've never seen this is really more for people who have it really narrowed down to the specific product that they're looking for. This will show your price, reviews, delivery, pricing, things like that. And then the last item. There we go. Google Images. The markup here has been around for a while. It's the same as what you need for a product snippet, but again, image is obviously required to be eligible for these results. We're seeing a lot of these even for like inspiration terms, people searching. So definitely making sure that you're visible within these results is important, especially of like a very visually based product that people might be looking for, like decor and things like that. If you're not sure where to start, log into your search console. They have these reports in there. They will show you where your errors are. They'll tell you exactly which markup is missing or suggested fields that they'd like to see in there. If you want to play around and learn the coding yourself, Google has a code lab, but recommend just going in, figuring out what's wrong, and I'm sure your friendly local developer can help you fix that markup. Or if you need a second set of eyes, we're happy to take a look as well. When you log into Search Console, this is the report that you'll see. It'll show you, the instances of errors, the instances of valid markup, and from there you can kind of drill down and figure out exactly what's wrong and why you're not eligible to appear for certain results. Great. So we're thinking about on the product page side of things, and really what works from an optimization standpoint for your product. So someone's decided what they want to purchase. We want to get them to the site, get them to convert. Things that we know work because Google has set it in their quality rater guidelines. They want unique body content. They want to see something that's different from what your manufacturer has provided, and they want to show that you're putting the effort in to differentiate yourselves from your competitors and other sites selling the same items. They also do like to see the bullets. Obviously there's going to be manufacturer specs that are needed and required information, so they expect those to be there. They do like to see shipping and returns information on the page so that users can easily understand like the risk of what they're buying. Like, are they going to be out of their money if they buy it and don't like it, or what is their guarantee for the item that they're purchasing? They also like lots of product images and lots of product reviews. So whatever you have to do to get that product count up or review count up, do it. If you need to add more images of different angles of your items, just to give people that confidence in their purchasing of a specific item. And I think I saw a question earlier if having customer reviews on a product would help like boost the experience, like I guess signal that will say that they're showing to Google, I would say yes. People having real life positive experiences with your product will help not only with conversions, but it'll help Google understand that like people purchase from you, people use that item, and it's not just AI writing stuff on the site. What we don't like for product page content, large text blocks, they're really hard to read. Even like really long bullets, like bullets should be pretty easy to scan through. If you have really lengthy bullets, maybe have a few shorter ones and then go into more depth or vice versa. Tabbing that content out can also be helpful. So people can either get the quick summary or a little bit longer of a description. And then obviously duplicate manufacturer content. We don't love. Be unique, show your additional value prop. Google's been preaching that since day one, so definitely want to make sure we're keeping up with that. Cool. And then a very fun case study that we just recently ran. For this client, they sell Greek apparel. And so for any given t-shirt, they have 100 plus variations of that for all the different groups that they sell. We split a single group's products into 2 equal group sizes, both in page count, and then they had relatively similar impression counts over the last 6 months. So we knew that like the traffic was pretty similar to those. And so we wanted to figure out, even though it's AI written content, does having new, fresh, somewhat unique content from the rest of the website result in better performance for these pages? And so when we looked period over period, we let this run for just over a month. We found that the AI content saw slightly higher growth than the content that wasn't touched. So, even the pages that weren't optimized through AI saw some growth. But again, we didn't see the AI optimized content completely drop off the map. There was some human editing in there, although I will say it was minimal because we were working in such large batches and just wanted to get it up and live. So for me, this wasn't enough for me to be like, okay, we're going to completely discount the AI content. I think this is a unique case where there's so many products. It would be a great way to get unique copy built out at scale. But as we continue to do this for this client, we are going to be careful and just monitor overall rankings, because there could be a tipping point that maybe we didn't see with this first batch, or Google's like, hold on, like this is all AI generated, and potentially see an impact from that. So don't use this as carte blanche to go out and rewrite everything with AI. There still has to be some work done. But for me, it was encouraging because it allows us to make a larger impact for a site that has tens and tens of thousands of products on it.
Awesome. Just one other thing to keep an eye out for when the helpful content update happened around April, so August, September of last year. Studying some prospective clients who wanted to come on and was seeing big drops for their rankings. Constantly pinpointing a few different things. One of the most common patterns, though, of associated with a drop was for the homepage to lose its rankings for keywords that it never really was optimized for. So there may be keywords that if you look back, you wanted to rank for it, you were happy the homepage was ranking for it, but you never thought about creating content for that topic. So you were happy that you had it, but you didn't really work for it. If you go back to July of last year to look for keywords that your homepage was ranking for, that you're no longer ranking for, filter that down to a list of keywords you probably still want to rank for. Now go back and create those pages. But just know, if that was how you were barely ranking for those keywords, you probably lost those rankings now.
So like Nick mentioned, when someone's looking to purchase something off your site, I'm sure you've all done it. You do a quick little search for coupon codes or discount codes for that brand once you've settled on the website that you're looking to purchase from. For all of our clients, even if they don't necessarily offer coupons, we like to recommend having a coupon landing page. And that what this can do is capture like those high volume variants. So, your brand plus promo code plus discount code plus free shipping, all of those worked into the content of the page. It lets you own the top position or two against like the retail me nots of the world. You can use that like official language, right? So it's like guaranteed to work, working promo codes, because there's nothing worse than trying a promo code and not having it work. So an example we have of a coupon page that we like on the next page is Lulu's. Sorry, Nick, I don't know why my clicking of the mouse isn't advancing the slides.
It's
So
because I clicked away. Sorry, my
okay, no worries. So Lulu's is a great example of a site that does, I think, a good job on the coupon pages. So, it's not all about their coupons. They have a 15% off, but it's only offered if you sign up for their email or SMS lists. They may have a sale every once in a while that they could feature on this coupon page. If they actually did have a code, sometimes we have a couple clients that like to offer just like a flat 5% off and have that code from the coupon page. So there's a few different ways that you can use these pages to get a conversion out of someone looking for an additional code. It's also a great way to feature around the holidays, your Black Friday, Cyber Monday pages, and any sort of sale categories that you have, like deeply discounted products. They don't have to be like boring landing pages, and they can convert pretty well for customers. And you're not then just, paying a coupon site to send users that you would have already had convert via organic. So we love the coupon page.
yeah. Sorry, the reason I was going away is people are sharing really good comments and questions. We already have 13 questions that we're going to answer. But Heather from Northern Michigan said that her coupon pages rank in the top 10 organic pages, generating over $100,000 in revenue per year. So pretty cool. Um, just going to close this out with a few last thoughts. One, location pages. When someone is ready to buy, you want to make sure you show up and not one of your competitors. So when you have a page that is meant to represent a particular location, like a brick and mortar, make sure that the name, address, and phone is consistent between your Google My Business and that page. Make sure you link to Google My Business, vice versa. Make sure you filled out your structured data, and your structured data could go all the way down to your longitude, latitude. You can include your email address and not just your phone. You can get pretty detailed. Don't just do the basics. Um, and there's certain features um, for in-store locations. Can you cover that real quick, Rebecca?
Yeah, so things that we like to feature on landing pages for in-store. So I think on the examples we share on the next page, Nordstrom is a site that I like to show as an example of someone that does this well, but they feature like their in-store tailoring services, their buy online pickup in store features. But we have another client that does like in-store cooking classes, for example. So on their local pages, they have a feature of like upcoming classes in store. So it can just be another way for someone who's maybe looking for examples on a specific location to then click through and potentially make an additional purchase that they weren't considering for something that's specifically offered within that store.
Yeah, and I always say run a schema um, or a rich snippet tool on a Best Buy local page, and you'll understand like how far you can take some of the data. They're just it's almost novel use of things like email and latitude, longitude is it's good to copy, and you can see how it applies to more technologies on Google's side as a result. So we're going to get to questions, but really quickly, we didn't do a proper introduction of exclusive. If you're still here, then you know, glad we've been able to keep your attention. Again, we don't just do SEO. Exclusive is focused on delivering cross-channel. the reason we even think about SEO in the terms of awareness, consideration, conversion is so that it can be aligned with activities that we're doing in Google Ads, Meta, Pinterest, TikTok, Amazon, conversion testing, email, SMS. Everything can be lined up together. So that's what our difference is. While we are um, functionally probably deeper experts than most in our specializations like SEO or Google Ads, like we've demonstrated today, all that is coordinated by a strategy team to think about the total interaction and total output. And then we've built a technology suite that allows us to take lots of data from the different technologies that we manage, organize it through our own meta data, like tagging everything that's supposed to be awareness or consideration conversion, and then reorganize it in our own dashboards and reporting so we can apply strategic thought to everything. So before we get into questions, just asking a question of all of you. Are you interested in us taking a crack at telling you how we might be able to help grow your business? And this would include, of course, an SEO audit. It would be inclusive of looking at your competitors and trying to get a sense of whether your investment should be, for example, heavier in awareness and social or more focused on search universe. And we split our clients based on that particular point of bifurcation. Heavier on the branding or heavier on search presence. And from that, we'll make recommendations of channel mix that are going to yield the results you're looking for. Whether those results are growth or efficiency, we're going to walk you through our entire rubric that we've established over 26 years of being the first e-commerce agency and now yielding better returns than our competitors can. What do we know that can accomplish that, and how can we impart that wisdom on your business? So we'll keep this up as we start to look at these questions. Rebecca, just confirming you can see the questions as well, right?
I can, yeah.
Awesome. Do you have a first question that you'd like to take a crack at?
I'm just going to start from the top.
Cool.
Um, so Heather had asked how Google verifies that you are an expert and what kind of site do to show that they're verified to talk about the product. I mean, Google can tell a lot based on the depth of the content and the detail of the content. You know, they crawl enough of this site, they can kind of figure out which words are expected to be from an expert versus not. But more kind of blatant things you can do anytime that you're able to be mentioned in like a trade magazine or something like that. If you have a more technical product, like that's going to show expertise. Um, and for other cases, like I think expertise really isn't necessarily as high of a factor if we're thinking about something that maybe you don't need to be a super expert in, like apparel or something like that. You know, if you're searching for gym shorts, you know, it's not the same level of expertise that you need as if you are purchasing a Burton snowboard, because there's a lot of technical items that are going into the construction and the use of a snowboard versus, you know, a pair of mesh shorts. So something to think about if you're able to get, you know, some of those off-site mentions that can help show the expertise for you as a user. Kind of mentioned the customer reviews enhance expertise as they have experience with the product. I kind of mentioned that, but I think yes, I think it makes sense that that would be a way to show experience with an item and to help enhance that signal. Heather also mentioned that she tested ChatGPT and about 85% of the content was correct and 15% was wrong. Yeah, I mean, I think it really varies based on what you're trying to write about, and you'll keep hearing it, but the output's only as good as the input. So, you know, with that test that we ran, there were a few errors in either kind of spelling or explanation of something in the description, and so the output ended up being wrong. So we had to go through and manually check those. So again, just be in mind if you're testing it, make sure you're double checking that output. Let's see,
The next one is
Paul.
just a comment, yeah, from Paul.
Yeah. Yeah, Paul just said, for what it's worth, regarding the first poll that we ran, he thinks it's about your position, pun intended, in your space. So for Paul, they have organic traffic, decent organic traffic, and so the cost of getting dinged would outweigh the potential gain of it working. Yeah, I get it. I think
For
that's a smart way to think about it until you're able to do some more tests and figure out if it's something that can work for your site. I mean, there's so many other things you can use AI for, not just content generation. Like, you can use it for QAing code snippets. You can use it for generating ideas that then a human writes. So I hear you on the hesitancy. Emily asked about timestamping on updates. Is it enough to add a note at the bottom of articles under the main copy, or would it need to be built into the template? You could add a note, but I would prefer that at least the most recent update was in the template so that it had the date published. Well, actually, they have date published and they have date updated, structured data markup. So we'd want the original published date to be marked up and we'd want the updated date to be marked up. So that would probably be most easily implemented through a site template. All right, this one's a long one. Nick, is there a shorter one that you want to answer? And I'll read through Bill's question.
Sure. Caleb asks, is hidden/scroll content above the fold better than open below the fold? Um, Anytime you are doing hidden content, even if it's scroll content, you are running the risk of seeing some sort of penalty. What has worked well is put if you want to put the content earlier in the page, wrap it around a div tag, and then use CSS to change the position of that div tag towards the bottom. So the Google is not checking your CSS, so they don't know that your user is going to see it at the bottom, but your user sees it at the bottom, basically, and Google sees it at the top. So if you want to play around with like the most optimal, keep the content at the bottom, but get your credit from Google, that's the way to do it. Div tag, CSS position.
So Bill's question, he says that as a franchise, we're concerned about doorway pages with our franchises. So each franchise has their own local page and it's set up like a microsite. They want to move away from those location pages and go towards more project or job pages, which is hard to do at scale, of course. Would posting pictures and a one-line job description of each job be enough to boost local SEO and avoid ranking drops? This one might take a little more digging to just see how those franchise microsites are performing. And the only reason I say that is because last year I worked with a large laser hair removal company who used the microsite strategy for their local businesses. And everything in me said that it shouldn't work, but it worked for them for whatever reason. Like they were not getting penalized. We hypothesized that maybe it's because like the competition is so low and it's so specific and it's serving up such a custom user experience on the site for that person's location, that Google didn't care that they had hundreds of these sites. So that's an it depends answer, and that might be a good fit for an audit with Nick to take a deeper dive into, because I
Yeah,
wish I
happy to
could
do that.
a
Yeah.
one time yes no, but in that case it's as with anything SEO, it depends.
Yeah, and I think just side note that if it's not an image and a one line to fix it, there is a solution for it either way.
Mm-hmm. All right. Let's see. Jean asked, when discussing your example of moving SEO-friendly content to the bottom of category pages, how do you find or predict content at the bottom of the page compared to having no content at all? Is there still value to having content at the bottom of the page, or is this top simply preferred? Definitely still value to having content at the bottom of the page. We've run a few tests as well where we just remove content from category pages. Again, using split signal to see like A/B split testing for SEO. Is that something that Google cares about? And we do still see pages that don't have content underperform versus those that have content, even if it's below the fold. So it's something
Yeah,
worth testing and trying out depending on the site. But
and I'll add when I first look at websites, I like to look at the percentage of keywords that are ranking on page one. If 25%, 20 to 25% of your keywords are on page one, you probably have a good content strategy that Google likes. It's called the relevance differential. But if not, my first thing, if like it's 3% or 5% of your keywords are on page one, first thing I do is look at the different approaches you've taken to category level page content. I'll almost always find that in those situations, there's at least some category pages with no content. And I like to pull that up as like, just look at the data now. So what is in the title? What's in the H? There's no body. Okay. In the title and H, maybe there were 3 keywords used. Now let's look at the rankings. And you might find that like the rankings are, 100 keywords that this page ranks for. But the only keywords of those 100 that are ranking in the page one of Google are the ones associated very closely with the 2 or 3 keywords used in the title and the H. Now there's also other keywords that you're ranking for, but not on page one. Those are keywords that we call inferred keywords. You didn't actually optimize for those keywords. Had you written some content, you could have easily used those keywords in topical content, but you didn't write content. So Google can still tell you're related to these keywords, but your scores are really bad. So you're not going to rank well. The content kind of brings all that together and is able to use 10, 15 ontologically correlated keywords in the body text to tell Google, yes, comprehensively, thoughtfully, we know how to use these keywords, we understand the topic, give us some real rankings for these keywords. So no matter what, no content is always going to rank for only the few keywords used in the title and H, and that's not good enough. That's not good performance on the SEO side.
cool. Does the product structure data update also apply to properties on a travel site? So I haven't seen, so if we're talking about like an Airbnb or a Vrbo or something like that, I haven't seen the merchant listings appear for that markup, but I have seen it appear like the rich snippets or product snippets come in. So like star ratings, price per night in stock, something like that. I've seen those pull in on sites before. So I think you can use product structured data markup for properties in that way.
There's over 200 different variables in the schema.org. Some of them refer directly to travel. You may not want to take a purely product structure data update approach to that. You may want to introduce data points that would not be e-commerce centric as well.
Mm-hmm. I just don't think that Google is recognizing anything travel specific right now, would be the only downside to that. So like combining them, I think you could definitely pull in some travel specific, and then the ones that they're currently using would be helpful. Arun, hi. How do you handle reviews when they're collected for the company and not the individual product? It's tricky because Google's guidelines for structured data markup and for reviews specifically say not to apply a company-wide rating to your product, like to individual products. So in those cases, having it on the homepage, there may be homepage specific markup around that. I'd have to check. But I think their guidelines say that like you shouldn't use review schema in the cases where it's like it's for the site, but on an individual product. I'll double check and follow up with you on that one. The only reason I would use caution there is like I've definitely seen people do it, but then Google also calls out that they could apply a manual penalty if they think you're abusing the review markup, which you would see in your search result page or in your search console. So something to approach with caution.
Okay, well, thank you folks for staying late, by the way. We still have 6 more questions, so for
We're
people who
almost
are
done.
still here. So, hey, if someone has left, we're not going to answer the question, but those of you who are waiting for us to get to the question, well, we've got 6 more to go here. Happy to go through them.
All right. All right, so Claire asks, question regarding product schema. Our e-commerce site does not show price outside of being logged in since the price varies by customer. Is there still benefit in adding product schema without price, knowing we won't be eligible for rich snippets? Wouldn't it still give bots some extra context for what the product pages are about? Any drawbacks? I don't see any drawbacks. Like you said, you're not going to be eligible for rich snippets. If it were something that like didn't already exist on the site and would be a big dev lift to implement, knowing that you won't get those rich results, would it be worth it? There may be things you would want to prioritize over it, but I don't see a drawback.
The only drawback I see is that if you didn't want your customers to know what the price is, they'll figure out a way to now see the price because they may get used to seeing that it's showing up in Google. Um, that's all.
Hmm.
It
What if
depends
they
on why you didn't
excluded
want to
the
show the
price
price
in the
because they
markup?
will be able to.
Yeah, I think if they excluded the price, then it probably wouldn't show, it wouldn't pull through anyways. But yeah, I try it and see if anything pops up. Let's see. Emily asks for linking location pages to Google My Business. Is there an ideal link to use? Great question. I've actually never tested that. I've always just used the long link with the coordinates, but I think either one, they're both crawlable. So whatever's easiest. And can you review the unique vintage example? Did moving the content below the product on the category page score lower? Yes, it did. So pages where the content moved below the products saw an almost 5% drop in organic traffic versus those where the content remained above the fold. So that was those test results. We have a few different similar tests running for other clients right now as well, because it can change by industry and by week depending on Google's changes. Let's see. Does duplicate content on a subsidiary page / domain negatively affect your head domain where the first place original content is based? It shouldn't affect that first placement. If Google crawled that site first and saw the content originated from there, they should give that page the value. I've actually seen on a client site that sells like garage door supply parts. So they repost and upload the PDF manuals, and I actually see those excluded from Google search results, and Google applies a canonical back to the original publisher of that content. So it's actually like a cross-domain Google applied canonical. They're saying, we know you took this from the manufacturer, so we're not going to index it. Here's the original page that we're seeing. So you could actually probably check that if you own the Search Console properties for all of those, go into your index coverage report, check the pages that are excluded from Google's index, find the ones that say Google chose different canonical than user, and see if perhaps that canonical is to that main domain. Let me know if that answers your question.
I will say that I've definitely seen instances where it's caused a problem, so it's probably just
That's the other part I meant to mention. Yes,
yeah.
it can also cause a problem if those other republisher sites have like higher domain authority. Like if Amazon took your content, you might be out of luck. So be aware of that.
Or if you're publishing both at the same time,
True. Also true.
or if you had a snafu on the original site for even a day. Lots of reasons.
Let's see. Follow up to I assume the content placement question. So Nick asked, will JavaScript affect SEO if it's used to move that ranking content below the fold? So are you saying the content is listed, like coded above the fold, and then JavaScript moves it below the products, perhaps? Because in that case, okay, correct. So yeah, so Nick's asking if you have the product, the content coded above the products, but JavaScript moves it below. I would say that that would still cause an issue because the way that we test, the way that Split Signal works is it uses JavaScript to move the page elements around. And because Google can crawl and load JavaScript, they are ranking it based on how they're seeing the page load. So my guess is they don't like that they see it coded one way and then displayed another for users. They may see it as deceptive, or they may just say, hey, it's lower, it's actually lower on the page. We'll qualify that as
Yeah,
less.
and I would recommend you checking one of our clients, GreekGear.com, as an example of having code up at the top and using a way to position it at the bottom for the user in a way that Google seems to be rewarding, which again is div tag assigned with a CSS class, and in the CSS class rules, there's a absolute position uh, repositioning down to the bottom.
Yeah, I think what I'd rather see still for any of those instances is like keep a couple sentences up at the top. No matter what you offer, you can keep them short. They can be punchy. It can be like a quick little intro to the page or whatever, even if you're more of like a technical type site. And then if you want to put the rest at the bottom, you can do that. Just having that little bit at the top we've seen tends to help. Let's see. Caleb asked, if you have the same block of content on several pages, does that count as duplicate content? And does Google ignore something it sees lots on every page? So just make sure you have some level of unique content on the other pages. Google recognizes for like law pages, for example, that there has to be the same disclaimer on every page. And they're probably, after a period of time, just not going to apply any value to that content block. So you're better off making sure that there's some level of unique copy on the page above that duplicate block that's across all of the pages, if that's an option for your site.
Yeah, I think that boilerplate content will always be ignored, but if you do have content that was supposed to be for the page and you're duplicating, a quick look at your SEMrush results, and I say that because it's easier to look at there. Look at the keyword that your page is supposed to rank for, and look at the history, and you'll probably see that the 2 or 3 pages that all have the same content keep getting cycled in for that keyword. But of the 2 or 3 examples, the one that has the highest crawl authority, when it is cycled in, it probably is ranking better than when the ones with less crawl authority are cycled in, or with lower reviews or something else that is giving it a lower score. So trying to organize duplicate content canonically back to a page that has the better crawl authority, has a better experience, is something that could make a marked improvement in your consistency of rank and your conversions. And that's it. Oh,
That's
just 15 minutes
everyone.
over. That was the most questions I think we've had in years.
I know.
That was,
Thank you guys for those questions. They were all really good. Got me thinking. Keep me
yeah,
on my
that
toes.
was super exciting. Rebecca, thanks. Yeah, you made this such a memorable webinar. It was absolutely fantastic. Thank you, folks,
Yeah,
for jumping in and being like part of it. That was the
awesome.
most helpful webinar I've had in months. Thank you.
Ah,
Thanks, Mandy.
thanks. We worked hard
Thanks,
on it.
Rebecca.
Bye,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
All right. Bye, everyone. Cheers. See you in 2 weeks.